Hello, this is Brickmeister here, and this is my second video today, and I am actually posting tonight, which for you who don't know what tonight is, it is the night that I post, well, it's already been out for like an hour by the time I'm even filming this, is the Thor's Weapon Quest review. So that means that I'll have two reviews in one, well, not reviews, but two videos in one day. Wow, it's big. It's big. Big channel. Big start. Well, anyways. So this is a new series I am doing. It's going to be called Weekly Highlights, where I like to highlight weekly. Or weekly, I'm going to highlight different things in the Lego. Like, for example, this time it's going to be shooters, like different types of shooters you see in the Lego world, like the spring-loaded shooters, stud shooters, the disc thing, which I'll look up the name, don't worry, and flick fire missiles. And of course there's handheld stud shooters too. This will all be covered in the video. So this is going to be my stuff, so it won't just be different Lego elements and stuff. Of course it will be maybe like a minifigure or a line of minifigures, a Lego line in general. Lego new, like something that's going on in the world of Lego. Anything like that. So that's going to be what the weekly highlight is, just a highlight of something going on in the world of Lego. It could be something that happened 10 years ago. It could be something that's going to happen or something that's happening right now. So anyways, that is some info on this new series. And so as I previously mentioned, this episode number 1 is going to be about different types of shooters. So for example, you can see my sig fig holding probably the most common and most known type of shooter, which is the stud shooter, but as a handheld. Now there is one type of shooter that I unfortunately do not have with me right now, so it will not be in the review. I am super sorry about that, but I do not think I have it, so that won't be in this video. But anyway, it did actually show up in the new action battle sets, if you've seen those. So if you want to learn more about them, you can look into those action battle sets, because that probably has a lot of information about them. So now let's take a look at some of them individually. Actually, before we do that, I just want to talk about an overview. So these shooters have been around for a while now. I know stud shooters came out in 2014, and flick fire missiles have been around for a while, and these are now, especially with them trying to include play features with every set now, they are showing up very commonly now, and I think that a lot of people have gotten to know these different types of shooters. So I'll be looking at an in-depth look at each one. So now let's take a look at stud shooters. Hello, and these are stud shooters. Sorry about, I know this will be a change in the sound, but it's because I forgot to use my mic for the previous scene, so sorry about that. And here are stud shooters. These are our first shooters that we'll be looking at. And these were first, a brief history lesson, they were first introduced in 2014 in LEGO Star Wars sets. We're supposed to replace the parts which were like shooters in Star Wars. I would get one with me, but I'm currently filming this. They were meant to replace the shooters, which I bet you'll know. Here, I'll actually bring one. Kind of shooters like this. This was in the Thor's Weapon Quest set. They weren't quite like this, but they were very similar, where they didn't actually shoot anything. They just looked like blasters you'd see in the Star Wars universe. And, well, like I said, they were meant to replace them. And so now there's the main Lego piece that they'll use to represent the blasters. And of course the name stud shooter refers to the fact that the gun can be loaded with the stud, and so that makes sense. And the themes it was in was actually Ultra Agents, Star Wars, Ninjago, DC Comics, Marvel, Hero Factory, Legends of Zelda, and Minecraft. Oh, and not only that, it also comes in Powerpuff Girls and Friends, where it doesn't actually meant to be shoot anything. It's definitely the most interesting thing to me. It's used to represent lights and Friends. What an interesting use. But anyways, so that's all the different themes it's appeared in. I'm not sure if it is all of them. There might be some that I didn't mention that they're in. Oh, also the Lego Movie 2. And, well, not the Lego Movie 2, the Lego Movie 1. It was, let's be honest, it was probably in the Lego Movie 2 too. And, yeah, so if you don't know how these work, you simply press down on them. Here, I'll show you if I can focus. So you simply press down on them like this, and it'll fire a stud. Oh my god, that stud. It came back. But, yeah, that was a stud. Oh my god, it knocked over my sig fig there. Oh, he's a goner. And also, as you can see, my sig fig can actually hold them like this. If it'll focus. There, you can see. And those, again, work the same. Doesn't matter handheld or not. So it'll shoot out like that. So that is stud shooters, and that's how they work. These, of course, weren't the first shooters that were introduced, but they now become like the main shooter that you'll see in all the Lego shooters, I guess. Of course, now they are doing spring-loaded shooters a lot, which I will show you next. And here is the spring-loaded shooters, which actually something I forgot to mention in the stud shooters is that it did come in 85 sets. And now back to the spring-loaded shooters. These, also to get on that topic, appeared in 163 sets. It also was released in 2014, so I guess although stud shooters are like the main blasters, I guess it's appeared in more. It's kind of funny. And they are still currently being sold and stuff. They appear in a lot of stuff, like a lot of themes. Like, for example, the first one I found was Nexo-Knights. Now, unfortunately, there isn't too much detail about these. From what I know, there's like Star Wars and all that stuff. There's like almost like a projectile or a laser being shot is what it's supposed to represent. And if you don't know how these work, it's very simple. You click down here. That's not really showing very well. Here, I'll show it like this. And then that didn't shoot very good. Now that you get the idea, so let me show you it. Okay, that didn't shoot very far. But you kind of get the point, right? That here, I'll try one more time. Oh my god, doesn't want to shoot today. It's crazy. But so okay, that worked. That's how it's supposed to shoot. And here you can see this thing right here. This is a piece. It's a very interesting piece because it's like two pieces connect together. Now I think these are glued on or maybe just like even molded together so you can't take them apart. And you can see inside. Looks very weird, but that's where you're supposed to put the ammo in, and that'll almost look like it's a laser being shot out. And now these of course do appear in a lot of sets, and these are now becoming, and these all blasters are becoming a very crucial part of Lego for like all the Marvel themes and stuff. And I don't want to be like crucial, like it sounds kind of weird, but what I mean is that these are starting to show up in a lot of sets, and these are almost like the guns. Well, that sounds really bad. But the shooters that Lego is starting to use, and they're of course being used in a lot of sets. Now, one interesting thing to note, now that I'm here, is that shooters actually weren't supposed to be a thing in Lego, because originally Lego wanted to keep peace and make everything about peace, where they didn't want guns or anything, guns or violence. They wanted it to be a child-friendly thing, so no guns, no violence, no anything. Well, then they acquired the license to Star Wars, and that all went out the window. But so that's another brief history that, and if Lego hadn't gotten Star Wars or any of that, and they just kept to the whole trying to keep peace and not trying to make any guns or anything, that Lego would have been a lot different. And I think it changes for the better in this situation because it's popular and it works well and it doesn't promote anything bad. So in that way, I think it works really well, and I'm glad that they chose these and made these a thing. So now, a brief history lesson, and now that we got that out of the way, now let's take a look at our next shooter. The spring-load shooters, the flick-fire missiles. And these are flick-fire missiles. And these flick-fire missiles, these were first released in 2006. They've showed up in many themes from Lord of the Rings to Toy Story. And now, like I said, these were first introduced in 2006, and since then, they've become a very major part of Lego. Like I said with the past one, where like in all the action theme sets they had these. And the reason I said had is because maybe like a year or two ago, they really stopped including flick-fire missiles. They weren't in much sets, and they just weren't a thing much. But lately, now this year especially, they have been coming back, and they've been in a lot of sets, including the new Captain Marvel set, which shows an example, which is that also all these flick-fire missiles, they can also be used in kind of like a manual way, where you can flick a switch and just like with some spring-loaded shooters, it'll trigger like a chain reaction that'll cause 4 at once to fire, which is pretty cool. That shows up in a couple of sets where you don't actually have to flick it to make it fly. And these, of course, have many conflicts. Like, you can see them in a lot of sets, and they really back in like 2006 and stuff, they were really the only missiles that that Lego really used, besides for the Technic missiles, which unfortunately I don't have with me right now. If you're wondering how these shoot, it's very simple. That didn't work so well, but here, let me put it down here, get it to focus, and here like this. Now, so from the back, you just push on this right here, and this connects through the Technic hole, which will cause it to go flying. And of course, you don't have to have this front on here like this one. I just include it. As you can see from this, they're actually like really easy to make. All you need is a Technic piece like that, or any Technic piece really that it'll fit in, and that'll work. And then of course you need this, which is a really common piece. It comes in, let me see, 435 sets. It's very common. So one great thing about these flick-fire missiles is they're very easy to like create on your own. If for like mock builders and just people who may not get flick-fire missiles in the sets they get, they can just make their own, which is really easy for them. And I think that's one thing that's really great about these flick-fire missiles, whereas like all the others, they need special molds that you have to shoot them out of, which unfortunately limits you to have to buy the sets they come in or bricklink them. Most people who would bricklink them, of course, would already have them, unless you, of course, you're a kid who got them off eBay. That wouldn't be surprised if that happens a couple times. And so yeah, these were flick-fire missiles. Now on to our last one that I will be showing. Sorry, second to last one that I will be showing, disc shooters. So here are our next thing, the disc shooter, which this one I'd say is definitely the less common shooter on this list, probably the least common one, for it only appears in 40 sets, which if you didn't know, it's not a lot of sets. I mean, it's a lot of sets to buy, but compared to One Piece, that's pretty uncommon, considering all the sets that are released a year. That would be like one wave worth of sets. And these were released in 2015, so they've only had, like, I guess now 4 years to be released, so they haven't had too long. And this one actually did, that I'm using right now, did come in a set. The Hanzo vs. Genji is the one that I'm using right now. And again, like always, if you don't know how this works, you just push it from the back. Actually, the Hanzo vs. Genji, what you did in that one was they had another thing that you could push that had a chain reaction that would push the disc, which would then fly out. So it was a little different for the Hanzo vs. Genji, but for just the disc shooter in general, that's how it works, where you flick it, and just like the flick fire missiles, where you flick it and then it'll go flying. So I definitely have to say these are less common ones. They have appeared this year, just not that much. And I guess there isn't much to say. There isn't much info about them, but of course that makes sense because they aren't that common of a piece. And I think you'd have to be a pretty big LEGO fan or happen to get one of those 40 sets to really know what these disc shooters are. So that is disc shooters. Now on to my last one, the ball shooters. So as you probably guessed from just seeing my sig fig here, this is the end of the video. I know I said I'd do the ball shooter, but I cannot find it. I am sorry. I don't know where it is, so unfortunately I am super sorry about it. I cannot find it. It was really weird. So anyways, so as I mentioned previously, there is the first ever LEGO shooter. For some more history, was the Technic Cannon, which was first released in 1998, and they actually just released it with the Star Wars stuff, the action battle stuff. I had not seen it at all for like a couple years because they weren't really releasing it. Now maybe it was released and I just didn't know about it, but I don't know if it did actually ever show up for like a couple years, maybe from 2014 and on. I don't think it was released much, so that was the first ever real LEGO cannon or blaster or whatever you want to call it. And so that's a little more history on the whole LEGO blaster thing. And like I said, they really wanted to keep peace, but unfortunately that's not what was in demand and stuff, and they want to keep people happy and with good products, so that's what they did. And it makes sense, and it really works well. And of course, the Technic Cannon was in 34 sets, so I think it's actually in more, because this thing that I'm reading says that it was, the last time it was released in 2006, which isn't completely accurate, so I'm going to say it's in more than 34 sets. And I think that, well, it's a really nice thing to be, and it's really fun for obviously kids and stuff. They love shooting it, and like you can shoot it at your bad guys and destroy them and have fun and all that conflict and stuff. So it really is nice, and I think it's a great way to represent toys and LEGO and the fun that kids get to have with it. So that was my weekly highlight. Again, I will do this weekly, and it will be a new series of mine. I'm trying out a couple new series. Tomorrow for Easter, wait, I don't think that's a word, but tomorrow for Easter, I will be trying out another new series. I think I probably will be. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you enjoy my videos. This is the Brickmeister signing off.